Wade, you're up, man. Okay, guys, go ahead. Yeah, so from an injury standpoint, Sammy and Tavon were both limited today. We gave, LaMarcus is going to still be day-to-day. He missed today with his hamstring. Kayvon Webster was back full participation. Malcolm Brown was back full participation. Connor Barwin and Andrew Whitworth, typical, we just give them, that veteran rest day. And then John Sullivan was off today with recovering from his hip.
This is the first time we've had speak with you since the weekend. After you guys played, of course, President Trump made his statements and we saw different demonstrations through the weekend. Have you talked to your players about that, and what do you think about it, and what, if any, plans do you guys have collectively?
Yeah, Gary, it was something that we absolutely addressed right when we got back from the weekend. Really just kind of talked about what was going on, just making sure everybody was in tune with that. And one of the things that I have a lot of respect for that's gone on here, going back to when Coach Fisher was here in the head coaching role, they did a great job, with the way that we handled the national anthem in terms of the organization, where everybody took part, where the players are all in alignment, staff was behind them. It's always looked really sharp and crisp, represents the respect we have for what that, what the national anthem represents. And, one of the things I think is so special about this game is whatever your opinions, your backgrounds, all right, it all brings people together. And, really great demonstration of unity, talking about the team, and that's something that you hear us talk about all the time. As far as we're concerned, we're going to continue to operate, standard operating procedures with the way that we'll handle the anthem. Got a lot of respect for our players and our leaders in this organization, where, we always talk about the open lines of communication. If somebody feels differently, we'll talk about that amongst each other. But I think the important thing is what you'll see from us as a Rams organization is that unity, and we'll all be in it together. And as far as what we're going to do moving forward, it'll be exactly how we've always handled the national anthem.
You feel pretty good about that? Like, you want to just get it addressed and out of the way so that it's not a talking point?
Yeah, I think you certainly don't want to brush that aside, but you want to talk about what a great opportunity this is, like a lot of teams, to show how united they are, how connected they are as a team, and everybody doing it together. And that's something that we've done, and certainly we'll continue to operate the same way. And I think our players feel that way. If anybody feels differently, Rich, they know that I've got an open door policy. We'll discuss that. We just don't ever want to be caught off guard with any surprises, and can't say enough about what our players have done up to this point in my interactions and our dealings with them and our entire coaching staff in terms of knowing exactly how we want to handle each situation and circumstance that comes up.
Most coaches would probably rather keep the two separate, politics and football. Is that, even as a first-time coach especially, kind of a weird line to navigate for you when you're having that conversation?
It is, and I think it all goes back to respect for everybody. Everybody has, certain opinions or things that have shaped their core beliefs, and we have a respect for that. But you certainly want to make sure that as long as you're building and developing those relationships, keeping it about what the things that we can control and having that mutual respect, I think you'll be in good shape, and that's how we try to operate here.
What's Ethan Westbrook's status, and what's your reaction to what happened?
Yeah, the more that you gather information about it, you're disappointed for him that you get caught up in a situation like that. Certainly, sometimes these are things that we can control, and sometimes, you get caught up in bad situations. And as we continue to gather more information on that, Gary, based on what we've talked about with Ethan in-house, we are supporting him. But until we get everything finalized in terms of exactly what the ruling is, what exactly went down. I trust Easton. When he talks to me and he looks me in the eye and tells me what happened, I trust him. And that's the way that we're operating. And until otherwise, he's going through the week of practice with the week of preparation with the expectations to play. And, that's something that is pending based on if anything changes along the way. But as of right now, supporting Ethan, trust Ethan, and what we've heard from him, you feel like this will get settled and you want to try to avoid these. But really, until more information comes out with respect to the process, I want to kind of just keep it at that.
Sean, when you were putting together your staff, what was it about Coach Cromer that you liked? Did you have a prior relationship with him at all?
Yeah, I obviously the coaching network is a small one. There's a lot of guys that I've worked with that have worked closely with Coach Cromer. We both were in Tampa, so we've crossed paths with a lot of similar people. And then we also have Miami of Ohio connection. He played at Miami of Ohio as well. And I'm a fan of coaching, so just watching the lines that he's been a part of and units think he's done an excellent job. You see where there's, where Aaron Cromer is, typically there's been a lot of success that follows it, and guys play hard up front. They compete. They're sound fundamentally. I think he does a nice job. He's got a great vision for the run game and how you protect. And, the more that I'm around him, the more you have an appreciation for, you feel great that he's our offensive line coach, and it's been a joy working with him so far.
You guys have talked about in that room encouragement to ask questions for dialogue. You would think that would be the case everywhere, but maybe not. Was that something that you felt was important in building your staff, that players did have that?
Absolutely. We talk about it all the time. As a coach, you're really a teacher, but it's important for us to realize that, you're not only transmitting information, you want to make sure that you're giving it back and there's a dialogue, because if you're just giving out information and never forcing them to give it back to you, you have no idea where they're at. So, I think that's part of the learning process. That's what makes him a good teacher, and really we've got a lot of examples on that on our coaching staff, and that was kind of what we sought out when we were assembling the staff. Well, I think it's important that you're putting yourself in a position. I think it's also important to realize that it's at the end. You want to. It's where you wind up, and I think the guys have done a great job just taking it one day at a time. Right now, our goal is to find a way to get to our third win, and I think the guys have done a great job of just kind of focusing on one day at a time, and then inevitably or eventually, hopefully, if you do things the right way, maybe we're having this conversation later on in the season when the real final standings or things like that are to be determined. But what our guys have done a great job with is just taking one day at a time. Had a good day of work today. Expect to come back with the same mindset and mentality tomorrow, and we know that we're going to have to be at our best to get our third win against an excellent Dallas Cowboys team. They go 13-3 last year, 7-1 at home. Great road win for them this week, and I've got a whole lot of respect for this organization and Coach Garrett, and just from having gone against them a couple times a year. So it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Going on, I realize you just played Washington, but are there some advantages having been in that division for you and having seen Dallas last year and twice?
Advantages, I think, I think you at least know them a little bit better, but, when you start to look at them, just like any other great coaching staff, they've done a good job of tweaking some things. Coach Marinelli, those guys play so hard up front. They're doing some different things on the back end. And then I think when you look at offensively, I think Coach Garrett and Coach Linehan do a great job of utilizing their personnel and really maximizing their skill sets. And they've got great players all over this team. Rich Bisaccia is good as special teams coaches there, as I worked with Rich in Tampa, so you know what he's all about. So, I think what it does, Chris, is it just gives you more of an appreciation for what type of caliber team you're going up against just from having been in that division for the last couple years.
Before the Rams left for St. Louis, they had a long history with the Dallas Cowboys, certainly through the playoffs and stuff in the 70s. Are you aware of that history? I know it happened before you were born, but
It was way before I was born.
but are you aware of kind of the long history between the two franchises?
Yeah, I've always been a fan of the game. You have an appreciation for, what's taken place before. I was fortunate to get into this league, so you are familiar with it. I think one of the things that our guys have done a great job with, and really you go to our alumni association, embracing the past. You do some different things where I think that's what's so special about this game is appreciating the guys that have done it before these players and made the Rams what they are. And then you also appreciate the rivalries that existed going back to the 70s, like you mentioned. But I think that embracing that history is part of it. I think it's also important to know that, this is a storied franchise on both ends, and we've got a great challenge. And I think, like what I've said over and over with what Coach Garrett's done with his team, it's going to be a great challenge and an excellent atmosphere. And, I know our guys are looking forward to it. Yeah, Tavon will be back there right now. I think the one thing is that, you look at Tavon over the course of his career, we just keep pushing through, work through it, have confidence in Tavon, great focus and concentration when we're fielding it. And then, you got other guys ready in the instance if it's not Tavon. But no, Tavon is the punt returner. A lot of confidence in Tavon. He's done some great things over the course of his career, and we don't let a couple plays define it and change our whole approach to a dynamic player like him. Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I think one of the things you appreciate about Tavon is, like you're saying out, and he's a very conscientious player. Hasn't been as available as you would have liked for things that he can't control. It's the hamstring, it's the wrist. And I know that's been frustrating for all of us, and I think you do have a tendency as a player to feel like I've got to press a little bit when maybe the opportunities are a little bit more limited than they've been. But what you talk to him about is, try to do the best you can, staying in that one play at a time mindset and mentality. You're a great player. You've been a great player in this league, and let's not feel like we have to press. Still have all the confidence in the world in you, and that's how we feel, and that's what we say to Tavon.
You've seen him in motion sometimes, and kind of just the threat of the jet sweep with Tavon. How much do you feel like that's kind of opened up goals for Todd Gurley?
A lot. That's one of the things that you mentioned is when you've got a player like him, it might not show up on the stat sheet, but he's contributing in a lot of ways that goes unnoticed, but it certainly doesn't in our building. He does a lot of different things, whether it's that, the eye candy, or, the threat where you look at it when you give him the actual jet sweep in the tight red zone area and he gets it down to the 1 yard line. Those yards are so hard to come by in the red zone. And when you can give it to him on the 9 and he gets it down where they got to review it to see if it's a touchdown or not, he's an excellent threat in that. And I think when you look at across the league, going back to a couple of years, they did a great job utilizing him in that way. That's become a real weapon for this offense, and that's certainly something that we want to continue to utilize in a manner that fits what we're doing. And he's done a great job. So yes, I absolutely think it has opened up the run game in a lot of ways, Alden.
You gave quite a bit of credit to the Cowboys offense, especially looking at Dak Prescott. What have you seen from year one of you two to kind of help you better prepare for a quarterback of this stature?
Well, I think the thing that you're so impressed with about Dak is that you're anticipating when a guy comes in the league, there's going to be a learning curve, and he came in and he was balling from week 1, and he did a great job. You kept waiting, watching him last year in Washington. All right, man, can he continue to play at this high level? And to his credit, he did, and he continued to get better and better. Really impressed with his demeanor and his disposition. Love the way he handles himself from afar. You can see his teammates really believe in him. He's got a nice, authentic way about leading. And I think he plays his best in crunch time. Seems like when things get tight, you look at the game the other day, a couple things, and he finds a way to escape, make a play, get a 17-yard gain on the start of on a second down play, comes back and makes a handful of other plays where he's escaping big eyes down the field. He has the touchdown run in the red zone. So I think the guy's a great football player. I think he's a great leader, and I think he's just continued to get better, and it really didn't seem like there was a learning curve. It's like, man, this guy's pretty impressive. So, I respect Dak Prescott a lot, and he's done a great job for that team. Yeah, we've got to be at our best on Sunday, and we've got a lot of players on defense we've got some confidence in too. But make no mistake about it, you look at talking about Dak, and then Zeke leads the league in rushing. He's a great runner, got great feel. They're great up front. Jason Witten's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You look at Dez Bryant when he gets involved, he makes the catch over the middle and how violent he is to finish. And then, Cole Beasley, I think, is one of the better slot receivers in this league. You look at they're getting Switzer involved, and, Terrence Williams makes plays too. So there's a reason why they're a top offense. They're 13-3 last year. They've got good players. They're extremely well coached, and they do an excellent job really in all three phases. There's not a weakness on this team, and that's why, if we're going to give ourselves a chance to go compete, we got to be ready to go. Well, I think a lot of times you talk about keeping your gap integrity as a defense, and it's predicated on where guys are aligned. And when you're flying a guy fast across the field, it causes some conflicts in your run fits, and guys get out of gaps, or they're looking at it, or you might regulate some different things that you're doing. So a lot of it's predicated on what the defensive call is and how you want to defend it. But it does give you some different things to look at. You don't know if it's coming, and there's some compliments off of that. So I think the biggest thing is it really stresses some of the run fits, and I know defensive coaches do an excellent job of trying to keep that run gap integrity, especially when you're in some of your single high structures where it's one man for one gap, and what that does to stress that. Okay.